In 2006, we saw the release of the original Gears of War, and now, 19 years later, we have the second remaster of this classic game, Gears of War Reloaded. But what exactly has changed between these two games when it comes to attention to detail? So the time has finally come. Gears of War is finally released on PlayStation, but for a lot of new Gears of War fans, what exactly is different with this Gears of War remaster with Gears of War Reloaded versus its original release in 2006? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy this direct comparison of the original Gears of War versus the newest remaster, Gears of War Reloaded. But guys, let's dive into the video. So beginning with a comparison of the character models themselves, and beginning with the original Gears of War, the character models in this game actually look really great for a game that came out in 2006. By concealing a lot of the character in shadows and darkness, it actually makes the game look a lot better than it probably did if they used a lot more direct lighting. And it makes a lot of the imperfections that we would notice a lot more realistic and stylistic looking. While in the remaster, Gears of War Reloaded, the graphics have a lot more detail. I mean, there's so many more dents and scratches that you can see in Marcus's armor that just simply weren't there in the original release in 2006, though I wouldn't be against you at all if you felt the character models looked better in the original release than they do here in the remaster, due to just the stylistic approach of lighting the characters differently, using heavy shadows that just made the game look, now I won't say necessarily better, but it just looks different, and a lot of original Gears of War fans prefer that original look versus the more illuminated look that we see here in Gears of War Reloaded. That, yeah, we can see more details, but a lot of the style came from what you couldn't see in the original Gears of War. But when it does come to graphics, one of the biggest differences, in my opinion, is actually when it comes to the landscapes, because in the original Gears of War, they actually did a really great job of showing, this destroyed beauty that Gears of War was known for, though in the remaster, they just extended the draw distance, showing more buildings in the background that just weren't there in the original game, and the buildings that are there have a lot more detail and a lot more of the Gears of War architectural style that we'd see in later Gears of War games. And moving on now to a comparison of the actual gameplay between Gears of War and its remaster, and for the most part, it's just a one-for-one recreation of the gameplay of that original game. If you're wanting to see some of the flashier executions from later Gears of War games, they're just not going to be here. The Gears of War only had the curb stomp execution, and that's all that we have here in Gears of War Reloaded. Though in the settings of Gears of War Reloaded, they did add some changes the player can choose from. For example, the action movie style shaky cam that you see when you roadie run can actually be removed in Gears of War Reloaded, whereas that wasn't an option in the original Gears of War. Though some OG fans might consider this blasphemy. But by far, one of the biggest differences between the original Gears of War and either of its remasters is the overhaul to the game's cinematics. Besides looking completely different with the new graphics, the camera movements are also often completely different. With the original Gears of War just panning the camera a lot more between characters that were talking, the remaster actually cuts the camera between whoever is speaking. Okay. The Coalition also uses this opportunity in the remaster to tweak some of the dialogue in the cutscenes. For example, in Act 1, whenever Marcus and the squad find the remains of Alpha Squad, he clearly references their dog tags, whereas in the remaster, they clearly changed it to cog tags.
Dog tags are gone.
Well, it could be Alpha.
Cog tags are gone.
Not to mention certain cutscenes have had dialogue completely removed to make them flow a bit differently than they did in the original Gears of War. Like Marcus's satisfying quote from the beginning of Trial by Fire.
That was satisfying.
I expect you to give me 110%, Phoenix!
While in the remaster,
Done! I expect you to give me 110%, Phoenix!
But when it comes to Gears of War, one of the biggest things the franchise has always been known for is its gore factor, and that actually has changed quite a bit from the original Gears of War versus its remaster, Gears of War Reloaded, whereas in the original Gears of War, whenever you shoot somebody, the blood spray decals always look kind of cartoony and animated, and you can also see when it comes to blood decals on the ground, they kind of bleed out wherever the enemy is defeated, but whenever you shoot them, there's no blood actually shooting out onto the ground. Whereas in Gears of War Reloaded, they actually changed the way blood decals work from top to bottom, whereas the blood spray effect doesn't look nearly as cartoony as it did in the original release. And also, whenever you're shooting defeated enemies, they actually spray blood decals into the environment, which is something we didn't see in the original Gears of War. But if you're going to talk about the Gore of Gears of War, you got to talk about the chainsaw. And though they both look great across the original game and its remaster, the Gore has been toned down quite a bit in the remaster versus what we saw in the original game. Though I think one neat detail they added in the remaster is that whenever you use the chainsaw, your character model actually gets covered in blood, which is kind of a cool, grotesque touch. Which leads us to a comparison of the water effects between these two games. And in the original Gears of War, let's be honest, the game's water looks like water from a game from 2006. Whereas in the remaster, the water looks far more realistic. It even has like moss growing across the top and more realistic looking reflections. Though whenever you shoot the water in the original Gears of War, it does have its own unique, though not very great looking, splashing water effect. Whereas in the remaster, the splashing water effect is just a reuse of the blood decal animations that you see whenever you shoot enemies, just colored to look like water. But one thing I found kind of interesting is that whenever you throw a grenade in the water in the original game, you just see the normal grenade explosion with smoke and fire, whereas in the remaster, they remove that completely and just give it a splash effect, which is kind of interesting. And with my final comparison, I wanted to show a side-by-side of some of the sound effects of the weapons from the original Gears of War and show you how they changed in the remaster. And as you can see here by the Lancer, I mean, it sounds classic. This is the way I've always loved it and remember it sounding. And they've completely overhauled it and changed it in the remaster. Whether or not it's better is completely up to you, but they did this for the most part for all the weapons in the game. What do you think? But when it comes to Gears of War Reloaded, the best thing they added, especially if you never played the first remaster Gears of War Ultimate Edition, is the lengthening of the final act of the game. In the original Gears of War, they only had 3 chapters in Act 5, and it's been extended with added chapters in Gears of War Reloaded, which includes a boss fight that wasn't in the original game and actually gives gameplay to the Brumac that we wouldn't see originally until Gears of War 2. Well guys, you made it to the end. Thank you for watching my direct comparison of the original Gears of War from 2006 versus its newest remaster, Gears of War Reloaded. And at the end of the day, when it comes to remastering a classic game like Gears of War, the game is always going to be great. The game is a classic for a reason, though for older fans like me who played the original release of Gears of War, played the remaster with Gears of War Ultimate, and now we have Gears of War Reloaded. I do kind of wish that Gears of War Reloaded was more of a remaster than what we saw with Gears of War Ultimate. Small things like adding even like Gears of War 1's first version of Horde, like an original version of Horde for the original Gears of War, because the original Gears of War never had Horde. And I think it would have been cool if they could have gone into the code and just made a simple version of Horde for fans of the original Gears of War who are buying this game for a third time. That would have been really cool. But at the end of the day, this game's a classic. The remaster is pretty good. There are some things I feel like the original game does better than this game, but at the end of the day, you know, it'll show you what this franchise is all about. And if you like this game, definitely check out, you know, the other games in this series, and hopefully Gears of War E-Day, when it drops next year, hopefully comes to PlayStation as well. But guys, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to drop a like on it. It helps the video reach new fans, and as I always say, that's always a good thing. I also make new videos like this all the time, and you watched all the way to the end of the video, so if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? You made it all the way to the end of the video. But guys, that's all I have for this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.